I'm Ian McFazden. I'm Chief Exec at Plymouth Science Park. I've been a researcher in the city since the mid-80s, marine science, and then set my own business up. Moved to the Science Park, actually, nearly 20 years ago. Then formed another business in life sciences, helping stem cell banking. But I've worked at the university, and I'm really impressed with the city's culture of innovation. Really wanted to try and make a difference by coming onto the park, helping businesses develop their ideas into new markets, help create jobs across the city, and make sure Plymouth is known for the excellent research and its translation into business.
So obviously we've been talking for some time about the link between culture and other sectors and other agendas. And so one of the things we've clearly talked about is the kind of a culture being in part important to well-being, which is a sort of theme that's come out a lot. But what do you mean in terms of developing a culture within a health and technology science park in particular?
Well, if I sort of define the well-being as, being comfortable, healthy and happy, then if a business has got those three criteria, then the employees will probably pick up on that as well. So for me, I'm really keen for a health, technology, science park to be very comfortable with who's on here, the ability to recognise individuals and the talent that they need to drive their ideas forward. Very keen for people to have a really good sense of purpose and place. We're really privileged here. The park's right on the edge of the largest national park in the region, and we've got Dartmoor there. We've got National Marine Park coming in the city, and we've got the coasts around here. So that sense of well-being ought to reflect in how people approach their work. I think it's really important that as a city, the support mechanisms for businesses wrap around them to help share risk, take some risks. Don't be completely risk averse, but have a managed approach to risk and being open about your status. There's so much in the press now about, certainly for guys who are uncomfortable talking about their problems. If you don't do that in a business, you may struggle as well. So that well-being and that ability to open up and talk openly to your peers, to support networks, to the economic development team in the city, to the innovators at the universities. I think it's really important we get a culture of openness, transparency, honesty and integrity, and just, especially with the COVID situation, a sense of purpose, a common shared purpose of trying to do the right thing and accelerate opportunities, reach out to each other if you see them struggling. No point people making mistakes if everyone else around them's made them and just sits back and watches them make the same mistakes repeatedly. It's about trying to improve our productivity across the region and just have a shared vision for where we want to take the city and our people.
What would you say the kind of components of each aspect of leadership culture can kind of play?
I think the leadership, it's really important you have strong leadership, professionalism. Again, go back to the honesty, the integrity. You need a clarity of purpose. You need timely communication, appropriate communication as well. It can't just be emails. It might, sometimes a quiet word, sometimes a very, the opposite. Maybe you need to stand up and make an announcement and, sort of get people on the right path. I think leadership needs to set appropriate vision and ambition. It needs to be flexible. We need to be tolerant of mistakes, not be afraid to make the odd mistake, otherwise nothing will progress. And also leaders need to have a readiness not only to take ownership and responsibility, and probably even harder to do than doing that, is to actually let go a little bit and let others take over. The leadership can't do all the work. You've got to be trusting of your staff and your people to make mistakes, to nurture them, perhaps even to have a better way of doing it than you thought was the right way. So it's about letting go sometimes as much as knowing when to hold the reins.
if we sort of develop this culture and embed this culture, you're talking about culture of innovation and openness, how does that enable us to kind of better respond to these really large global societal issues, but at a local level?
Yeah, I think local resilience is going to be key to improving productivity, making sure we can survive whatever the next challenge is. It won't necessarily be COVID or COVID-20 or 2025. It could be any range of natural disasters, or it could be economic challenges. And I think it'll probably be a blend of all of those. I think local willingness to try new ideas, get out of the rut that I think we had before of you must plan everything to the nth degree. We sit in meetings planning or discussing what needs to be done. Actually, sometimes proceeding before the perfect plan is in place is good enough, and adapt as you go. Don't wait for everything to be squared away, because something else will change and knock it off track. Get on with it. Make decisions quickly. Sensible. Sound them out. Run them by other people. See who's done it before and made those mistakes. But learn from them, adapt, and become flexible. And I think locally, depends on how local you want to get. But I think down here, we've got a decent geography, we've got a good spread, we've got some major cities, some really good rural activities going on that we can learn from. And we can do more than survive this. I think we can thrive, and I think we can become an exemplar around the country and internationally for how we can do things at a local level that impact locally.
One of the things, obviously, we've had, COVID-19 has been very particular around this, is that idea of communicating what are very complex scientific health-based challenges and issues. And so I guess I'm interested to ask what the role of culture might be when we're looking at design and communication as a function to kind of communicate some of these very complex science, medical, health, technological issues, and how we increasingly need to sort of magnify the micro world to a human population and citizens at large.
Yeah, I think there's a really, really important role for the classic sort of culture design side of things, the more artistic creatives, to simplify what could be perceived as a really complex set of issues. So, that infographic we all see about what a virus looks like, and its little sensors or its little probes on the outside, whatever people believe them to be, it may not be accurate. It may not be the perfect design of the actual protein molecules, but it conveys to people, you need to keep washing your hands. You need to do this. And that's not just COVID. It could be any kind of complex environmental challenge, climate change, could be the business environment and the 5 pillars of productivity. How do you understand that you need good ideas, people, business infrastructure, business environment, and places? Those 5 elements can all get really simply conveyed. It just transcend into an ecosystem where, we need to get hold of the digital creative to give me the best looking app or the best website, and to convey just a sense of purpose, a sense of vision, and appreciate what we've got around us. Everybody's so busy, they've got their heads down working. Sometimes you don't get to take time to smell the flowers or appreciate the sunset, or just acknowledge that the creative side in all of us needs to be nurtured.
When we first spoke about culture, culture in my world and a culture in your world are very, very different things.
Yeah.
But there seem to be lots of similarities when we spoke between cultures in a medical sense and sort of a micro level, and culture on a macro level or sort of city level. And how do you think we apply the sort of lessons and principles from those two very different worlds?
Yeah, so if you take, when we talked about culture in one of our early conversations, it always, to me, culture springs up a Petri dish with something growing on it, that's microscopic and you can't really see it, but you can extract key things from that you want to follow, pursue, that might give you a cure. So you might be looking for the next antimicrobial peptide. That's going to be tiny, but it will make a massive difference. And take COVID as an example. There's a mutation that's happened. That's invisible is the phrase everyone's using. It's a visible enemy. And look at the impact it's had. So at the tiny subcellular level, you've still got all the fundamentals of cell storage. You've got to transport things across the cell membrane. You've got to have communication. You've got to have building blocks and signaling. These are all things that happen in the sort of business world, but also in our community and our society. So a small change, a mutation, can have a massive impact. So if we allow little things to be tried and changed, and you pursue them for a little while, that you can adapt and adjust. So I think that kind of medical culture has a really good analogy with the culture that we want in our ecosystem. You want a diverse, all-embracing, all-nurturing world where you can allow things to blossom.